For this project, we're creating a brochure, which is a presentation brochure for a food wine bar, and it's called B7 Pisces. I want a custom page size of 165mm by 280mm. And new to X6, we can now set the number of pages we require. So I want 4 pages. I'm sending this to professional print, so CMYK is correct, and a rendering resolution of 300 dpi also suits professional print. So let's click OK. I need to open a couple of dockers, so straight up to Tools and the Object Manager, and then Window, Dockers, and the Object Properties Manager. I'm going to select the Object Manager tab because I want you to see in the Object Manager we have 4 pages, 1 through 4, and we have a master page. Whenever we do work in the master page area, we always affect multiple pages in our document, and I'll show you. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a new master layer across all pages. So I'll call this background, hit enter, and you'll see that now we have in brackets all pages, and that helps you to know it's going to affect all pages. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to come across and select the rectangle tool. Click and drag, and then type in an absolute value, 165 tab 280, which of course is the perfect size of my page. To align to my page, one very easy way of doing this is, for example, the bottom left-hand corner of my rectangle is represented here by the object origin. So if I click the bottom left-hand corner, I can align that corner with the bottom corner of my page. You'll notice the 0 and the 0. So the 0 point is the bottom left corner of my page. So if I type in a value of 0, hit 0 and enter, and again the same here, enter 0, hit enter, and now my rectangle is perfectly aligned to the page. I'm going to come back over to the Object Properties Docker, and I'm going to give this a fill. So we'll select the fill option here, and I'm going to type in a value of 49, 97, 53, 57, and enter. You'll also notice up here on the document palette, as we're adding colors, those colors are being added to this palette so we have a quick reference to them as we move along. Now also I want no outline, so we click on none, no outline. Now when I click any page, the rectangle displays because the rectangle is sitting on a master layer that displays across all pages. So we can close this up and we can click on here lock, and that way I can't click on it and actually move it. It's locked now across all pages. Now we're going to go ahead and add another new master layer, but this time it's a new feature in X6 that gives us the ability to add master layers for odd pages and for even pages. Because I have an odd page selected, which would be 1 or 3 in this case, I can use this option. So click the new master layer for odd pages, and we're going to rename that to footer. And in brackets we'll see odd pages. When I select page 2, you can see it disappears. Page 3, it reappears. Effectively, anything we place on this layer will only appear on the odd pages of my document. So let's go ahead and do that. On page 1, let's make sure we select the footer layer, and I'm going to put a piece of text here that I've already placed on the clipboard, and I'll just stretch that out so that you can see it. It's B7 Pisces, taste the difference. Select, and from the Object Properties Docker, I want to make sure that it's Arial, which it is. We want to go with 12 point, a fill of white, and we want to make sure we're left aligned, which we are. We'll just manually place that in the center for now. Now watch this. When I click on page 2, it disappears. Page 3, it reappears, and that's because it's sitting on this layer for odd pages only. We can do the same thing for even pages. So let's click page 2, and that makes the even master layer available. So let's click, and we'll call this footer. Hit enter again, and you'll notice even pages is written by default at the end of this layer. So I'll come over and select the text tool, click and Control V because I've already copied to the clipboard what we require. Back over to the Object Properties Docker, I want to set this to 12 point and make sure it has a fill of white, and then I'm going to just align to the right hand side. I'm also going to make sure it has a line right selected as well. Now back to the Object Manager, and watch what happens. When I select page 1, we see the first piece of text, the B7 Pisces, page 2, the flavors of the world, back to page 3, our original piece, and so on. Well, finally, I'm just going to add some page numbers before we move on to some images. So up to Layout, and come down a little to Insert Page Number. There are a few options. On Active Layer means that we can choose whatever layer we want for the number to appear on. If I were to choose, for example, Layer 1 on page 4, then the number would only appear on page 4 in that layer, not on other pages. We're going to choose on all pages. And by default, that creates a brand new master layer. So I'm just going to rename that to number so that we remember what it is. And I'm going to make a few adjustments. In fact, let's zoom in for a closer look. What I want to do is place this over on the right hand side, go to the Object Properties docker and make a few changes. I want this to be 72 point, and I want to fill it with an unusual color, which is a custom color. So we need to click More. That'll bring up the color dialog for us. Then I'm going to click Models and manually type in what it is that we want, which will be 40, tab 95, tab 44, tab 20. Then click OK, and I'll just move this over a little bit. And you can see the number on all pages with that new formatting. However, I don't want the number to appear on page 1. So what we do is come up to Layout, Page Number Settings, and we have a few options. For example, right now we're starting on number 1 at page 1. If I change this to start on the number 2 on page 2, and by the way, there are a number of styles you can go with, Roman numerals, letters, etc., etc. Of course, I just want numbers. So if I click OK, it disappears. And what we have is starting on page 2, number 2, and we have all of our numbers. Well, certainly adding numbers is very easy. One thing we're going to need for the rest of our project is found under Layout and the Layout toolbar. So I'm going to leave that there, and we'll use that from time to time. In the world of professional design, the way we often design is to add rectangles throughout our design. So with the rectangle tool selected, draw a rectangle, right click on the color cyan, P on the keyboard centers to the page. Finger on Control allows me to move that back up vertically without it going sideways, left or right. So that's my starting position. Control C, copy to the clipboard so I can paste this on other pages as we come to those pages. What I want to do now is I want to convert this to an empty power clip frame. So click, and the X indicates it's now an empty power clip frame. I'm going to open Connect, and then I'm going to show the tray, close down this portion of the Docker, and this is the tray that we created in our last video for this project, and I'm going to use this fish. So click and drag and drop. I'll tuck this out the way, and isn't that fantastic? Now that I've added an image, to edit, I can simply double click, and that takes me into edit mode, and I can shift my fish around, do whatever it is I need to do. When I've finished, click Stop Editing. Now watch this. If I hold my finger on Shift and resize from the center inward, of course the fish resizes as well. Control Z, undo. If I only want to resize my container, I can unlock the contents. Finger on Shift, and now the container resizes, but the fish doesn't. And of course the container determines how much of that image we can actually see. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use one of the Fit to Contents options, Fit Contents Proportionally. And that places my image perfectly inside of my rectangle, and isn't that a great way to design? Well, let's move on to page 2. I'm here on page 2. I've already started to paste down. Control V, I'll paste down again, finger on Control and slide this down and align it there. Select the top one, and again we're going to convert that to a power clip frame, and I'll bring back out my tray, drag and drop, pop that in there, and then I'm simply going to fit contents proportionally. Now with this second rectangle here, I'm going to actually convert this one to a text frame. We're using rectangles to set up our layout, so being able to do this is very convenient. I don't know yet the text I want to use, so I'm going to right click on the frame and I'm going to come up to Insert Placeholder Text. The advantage in using the lorem ipsum text is that it's very much the same as English or Latin characters in its formatting and layout. This means that we can easily set up our design with some form of text to give us an idea of look and feel, number of characters, etc. Well, I'm going to select my text tool and double click in here, and I'm going to type in the word spicy. And I'm going to select my text, come over to the Object Properties Manager. I also want this to be 16 and bold. In fact, I want all of the text to be white. Select the frame, and again from the Property Manager, I'll choose white. Everything becomes white, and I'm going to go ahead now and add a couple of more words. I've added my 2 extra words, sweet and savoury, and I'm going now to remove the blue outline of my rectangle. So click the No Colour Well, select here, and right-click the No Colour Well. You'll also notice this dotted red line around my text frame and this little arrow at the bottom here indicating I need to stretch the text frame down to expose all the text. Well, rather than do that, I could reduce the point size or simply take out some of the text. And in this case, because it's simply sample text, placeholder text, I'm just going to remove a couple of lines, and that looks great. Let's go on to page 3. I've just finished placing my rectangles here on page 3. This top rectangle, going to convert to an empty power clip frame, then click and drag the fish inside, double click to edit. I'm just going to scale up so that we're only seeing a part of the fish, gives a nice modern look, and click to stop editing, select the bottom frame, and this time convert to a text frame. Now what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to add placeholder text, but do this slightly differently. I'm going to open WordPad. Using WordPad or Notepad or something similar, you can type out your text obviously in any language. When you're finished, simply click Save As and navigate to My Documents, Corel Content. You must save it as placeholder.rtf. Of course, I've already done that, so I'll click Save and click Yes. Pop that out the way, and now when I right-click and choose Insert Placeholder Text, automatically our text is placed inside of the text frame. I'll just resize the text frame, and what I'm going to do is click the A to go to the Object Properties for Text, and then Right Align. Right-click to remove the outline color of the rectangle, and doesn't that look fantastic? Well, on page 4 I've already commenced by placing my image inside of the power clip frame, and this time I'm going to just move the fish over to the right just for a nice modern look, and right click remove the outline. Now up to View, and I'm going to turn on Alignment Guides and come down to page 3. Z on my keyboard so we can zoom in a little tighter here. And now with the alignment guides turned on, I can easily align the edge of my text there, or my text block, to the back of the number 3. Over to page 2, and I can align the world to the bottom of the number 2, and I want to leave that aligned to center. So I'm going to click and drag, and when that center comes up, I now know I'm in the center. And on page 1, I've actually added some extra pieces just to show you this, how easy it is to quickly align something. So my piece of text is center. That's center on my line, and there's my center line just there, and also want to align the center and at the bottom of the number 1. How easy was that? The last area I want to look at are the text frames on page 2 and 3. Let's quickly zoom into here. I'm going to come up to View and turn on, under Grid, the baseline grid. Effectively, the baseline grid gives us spacing between the lines and the ability to line up various pieces of text. Well, if you right click on the text, you can choose Align to Baseline Grid. Now all of my text is aligned perfectly to this grid. If I go to page 3 and right click Align to Baseline Grid, I now know that my text is aligned across pages. Under View, turn off Baseline Grid, F4 zoom out, and now we're